Imagine trying to plan a $15,000 corporate event, like a massive conference.
Oh, that sounds incredibly stressful.
Right. You have to book a venue for hundreds of people, hire a speaker, arrange the catering, pick out floral arrangements, and send out invitations.
Which usually takes, what, months of planning?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, imagine you have exactly 3 days to pull this off.
Wow, okay.
3 days. You are running on absolutely zero sleep, and on top of all that, you are currently experiencing the most profound emotional pain of your entire life.
That is just, that's a nightmare scenario.
It really is. But that is exactly what we force our families to do when we avoid pre-planning a funeral. Welcome to today's deep dive. We're looking at a topic that, most people actively try to avoid thinking about.
Oh, absolutely. It's the ultimate taboo.
Yeah. But it is surprisingly empowering once you get into it. Today, we are drawing on a really comprehensive essay provided by the funeral program site.
It's a great source. Really detailed.
It is. And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack whether pre-planning a funeral is actually worth the effort. We want to look past that initial discomfort to uncover the really profound emotional, financial, and logistical benefits. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, when most of us hear funeral pre-planning, we picture something very specific.
Or like a really grim meeting.
Exactly. We imagine sitting across a heavy mahogany desk from a funeral director in a dark suit, signing our life away on this stack of legal documents and, writing a massive check.
Right. It feels very formal and intimidating.
But the source text establishes that it's a much wider spectrum than that. It's not just a financial transaction. It actually starts with something as simple as a kitchen table conversation.
Just talking it out.
Yeah, just informal conversations with your family about, say, whether you want burial versus cremation. It ranges from that all the way up to formal, documented legal arrangements.
I think before we get into the weeds of how to plan or, how much it costs, we have to look at the immediate aftermath of a loss, because that really leads directly into the psychological and emotional shield that pre-planning provides.
That's a great way to put it, an emotional shield, because we have to talk about decision fatigue during acute grief.
Right, because you're in shock.
Completely. When you lose someone, your brain is just flooded with stress. Without a plan, families are forced to make dozens of urgent micro-choices.
You're exhausted, and suddenly someone is handing you a clipboard.
Exactly. You have to pick a casket, a burial plot, write an obituary, figure out transportation. It's too much. And the text identifies a major risk here, which is family conflict.
Because everyone is stressed and grieving.
Right. So siblings might argue over burial versus cremation, or they argue over the budget, or even something as specific as the distribution of the ashes.
I was actually looking at this really compelling summary table from the source. It breaks down these exact benefits.
Yeah, the one about stress.
Yeah. It specifically highlights how reduced stress directly correlates to fewer urgent decisions. And then it shows how family harmony is achieved simply by removing the guesswork.
Because the guesswork is what causes the confusion and disagreement.
Exactly. You aren't fighting over what mom would have wanted because mom already wrote it down.
Right. And what's fascinating here is that pre-planning shifts the focus of the surviving family.
How so?
Well, instead of focusing on logistical management and arguing over details, they can actually focus on emotional healing and remembrance. They get to just be a family.
That makes so much sense. But of course, preventing emotional conflict naturally brings up the other major source of family stress, which is money.
Oh, always.
Which transitions us perfectly into the financial realities of end-of-life planning.
And the financial reality is that pre-planning allows you to compare pricing. You can explore affordable options without that immense time pressure.
Because you aren't trying to do it in 3 days.
Exactly. And this protects families from what the industry calls emotional overspending.
Emotional overspending, that's like buying out of guilt.
Precisely. It's the tendency to buy unnecessary, highly expensive things out of guilt or grief. People think, well, I loved him so much, I have to buy the $10,000 casket.
Right, because if I buy the affordable one, it means they didn't care.
Which is completely false, but that's what grief does to your brain.
But wait, I have to push back a little on the whole prepaid funeral plan concept.
Okay, lay it on me.
So prepaying to lock in today's prices against inflation, that sounds great in theory.
Sure.
But what if I set this up and then I retire and move across the country? Or What if that specific funeral home just goes out of business in 10 years? Do I just lose all that money?
That is a very valid concern, and the source text actually validates this in its pros and cons section.
Oh, they cover the risks?
They do. While prepaid plans reduce the burden and they do lock in prices, they require intense scrutiny of the contract details.
The fine print, basically.
Always the fine print. You specifically have to look at the refund policies, their inflation limitations, and, like you said, transferability if the person relocates.
So you have to make sure you can take the plan with you.
Right. You don't want your funds trapped at a facility 3 states away.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it sounds like this isn't just about saving pennies.
Not at all. If we connect this to the bigger picture, financial planning here is about establishing clear budgets to prevent unexpected burdens on the next generation.
So your kids aren't putting thousands of dollars on a high-interest credit card.
Exactly. It's protecting their financial future, too.
So having secured the family's emotional and financial well-being, the conversation kind of shifts to what you're actually planning.
The actual event itself.
Yeah, and the shift away from traditional cookie-cutter services. I was so excited reading this part of the source because the industry is rapidly changing.
It really is. Funerals are definitely no longer one-size-fits-all.
No. And here's where it gets really interesting. The evolving options out there are wild. We're talking about green and natural burials, water cremation, live stream funerals, and digital tributes.
It's a whole new world of options. The funeral program site observes that families increasingly want memorials that reflect a unique identity.
Right, highly personalized.
Very. This includes personalized music, maybe asking guests to wear favorite colors instead of black, or creating custom memorial bookmarks, prayer cards, and these really elaborate tribute displays.
It's almost like you're directing a highly personalized documentary of your own life.
That's a great analogy.
You're ensuring your final footprint genuinely reflects your values. Like if you were a huge environmentalist, you'd probably choose a green burial.
Exactly. No harsh embalming chemicals, biodegradable caskets. It aligns with how you lived.
And wait, earlier you mentioned water cremation.
Yeah, alkaline hydrolysis. It uses water and alkaline chemicals instead of flame. It's much gentler on the environment.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that was an option.
It's becoming a lot more common. It just goes back to that desire for personalization and aligning with personal values.
But this brings up a huge question. If pre-planning offers financial protection, prevents family fights, and allows for this total personalization of your legacy, why don't more people do it?
That is the million-dollar question. And it comes down to the psychology of avoidance.
We just don't want to think about death.
Right. The core irony identified in the text is that people avoid pre-planning because they think it's pessimistic, or they feel emotionally uncomfortable.
They feel like they're jinxing themselves.
Yes. Or they simply procrastinate, assuming there is always more time.
Which is such a dangerous assumption.
It is. But it's human nature to avoid things that scare us.
I think we need a total reframe here. Instead of viewing it as planning for death, you, as the listener, should treat it exactly like updating an estate plan, or writing a will, or buying life insurance.
I love that reframe because we don't think buying life insurance is pessimistic.
Right. It's just an act of care. It's the ultimate act of consideration for your loved ones.
This raises an important question, though. How do you actually start without getting completely overwhelmed?
Because if you just open a blank document and type "my funeral," that is terrifying.
It's paralyzing. But the expert advice from the source breaks down the initial steps, and it's very manageable. It starts with a simple conversation.
Like we mentioned earlier, at the kitchen table.
Exactly. Just start there. Decide on the big things first. Burial versus cremation.
Just make that one choice.
Right. Then write down your general service wishes. Do you want a big gathering or something private? Then organize your vital documents so your family can actually find them.
Oh, that's huge. Where the will is, life insurance passwords.
Passwords are so important nowadays. And perhaps, consult a local professional just to understand the terminology and costs in your specific area.
And I imagine none of this is set in stone, right?
Crucially, no. The plans aren't locked away forever. They can and should be periodically updated as your preferences or your location changes.
So it's a living document.
Exactly. You check in on it every few years, just like you would a retirement account.
So what does this all mean? When we look at everything we've talked about today, it seems clear that while discussing funeral arrangements feels incredibly heavy at first, It ultimately provides unparalleled peace of mind.
Unparalleled. It really does.
It takes this moment of potential chaos and stress for your family and transforms it into a structured, organized space for remembrance.
And that's really the final thought to take away here. Pre-planning isn't about death at all. It's a final gift of organization and love for the people left behind.
Preserving those memories with dignity.
Precisely. It allows them to grieve without the burden of logistics.
That is so powerful. And it actually leaves us with a final, slightly provocative thought for you to ponder today.
Oh, I like where this is going.
So we talked a lot about digital tributes and modern trends, right?
Yeah, the live streaming, the digital memorials.
Well, if modern memorials are becoming increasingly digital, what does your current digital footprint say about you?
Well, that's a really good question.
Right. Beyond just your physical funeral preferences, have you considered what happens to your online legacy? Your social media, your digital photos, your whole online life. What happens to all of that when you're no longer here to curate it?
That is definitely something we all need to start thinking about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this empowers you to take that brave first step and have these important conversations with your loved ones. Until next time.